Film Diet Podcast.
And then it's just sequel after sequel after sequel.
There was no character development at all.
Just that on pure technical levels.
There are filmmakers that don't want it just to be an entertainment experience.
Hello and welcome to Media Academy Online.
This is Film Diet Podcast.
Yes, and we are continuing on with the franchise Star Wars. And today we're going to cover Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. Now, where to start? Where to begin?
Where to begin?
Well, the other one ended. The Death Star blew up.
Mm-hmm.
This film begins, I think, a couple of years after the first one. And the first scene is on the Imperials. We get the Super Star Destroyer. Straight into a bit of Darth Vader action.
Yeah.
And it's pretty interesting because they shoot down some probe droids down to the Hoth planet, which is the snow planet. And they're searching for the rebels. Booyah.
Yeah.
And yeah, Vader's searching for Luke, really.
Yeah.
He's trying to find his son.
And this is where the overall story starts to take off. We had the first movie that kind of felt like a movie in itself, the story in itself, and now a bigger story starts.
The universe expands. You know, we get because the last time you see Vader he was spinning off in that TIE fighter. And he's just going into nothing, out into space. And then, that's basically it. You don't know what happens to him. Imagine if that was the end of that film. Yeah. And that was it. No more Star Wars. That's it. Just Vader's going off into space.
What happened?
And that's it. Never to be known. But no. He's looking for Luke. We don't know why, really. But yeah, he wants to search, kill, and destroy. And we get down to Hoth planet, and we've got Luke running on his little creature. I can't remember what you call him. And he gets captured by this, snowy beast, a snowman. What do you call it? Sasquatch?
Yeah.
Or something like that. And I think they're called Wampers.
And the continuation of the visual effects comes here. This is where we really start seeing some polished visual effects. Now they've gone through the process once, they've really worked it out, and we're moving on to the... Yeah.
So, you're getting more elaborate, more bold, or more interesting designs. You got the Tauntaun, which is the kind of kangaroo-ish thing that he's riding, and, it's all pretty cool, even the Star Destroyers up in space, seeing the spaceships, all done very nicely. They've learnt a lot. And there's more budget, and you can feel it. Mm-hmm. And roughly you get that first battle down on Hoth. And look, we're not going to go right into detail scene by scene, bit by bit, because we'll be here for 3 days. Yeah. So we'll try and condense it as much as possible. And I think everyone's seen this movie anyway, so it's not like sort of explaining stuff to people who've never heard of this thing before. If
you have, then why are you listening?
Exactly, why are you listening? And if so, you're just here to sort of give me shit and say what I've said wrong.
Yeah.
If anything. So, good on you. But, it's funny enough, this film I didn't really enjoy as a kid. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's because of the dark tone of it and because it was more character-driven and less kind of bombastic or... Not bombastic, but less... Not as kid-friendly, I think is the word. Yeah. It's a lot darker. It really is. Yeah. You got Luke getting fucked up straight away at the start, by that Sasquatch. He swipes him, captures him, and rapes him. No, he doesn't really. You don't know. You don't know.
Is there a special kind of edition here?
Well, yeah, exactly. It's my edition. So we've got that going down, and Harrison Ford or Han Solo goes out looking for him, and the guy at the door's like, "You're gonna die if you go out there," and he's like, "Well, I'll see you in hell." And it's like, that's pretty sweet, because he's like, he'll do anything for his mates. Following on from that character who was so selfish in the first film, he's come full circle now, and he's got Luke's back no matter what. So they've got already established, it's been a few years, and these characters have grown, and then they're expanding. They just keep expanding the characters, more depth, more layers, and
more like an onion, like Shrek.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's weird because how many movies do you really see in a series that you actually get that kind of off-screen growth, character growth? Because there's a lot of ancillary work or comics or books or video games, that kind of filled in a lot of the blanks in between films and, took these characters and developed them even further. But I think at this time, obviously, this was sort of pre all that. So they kind of were just kind of going with it and sort of going, okay, these characters would be sort of here. Let's go with that, And, well, let's quickly get into George Lucas not even directing this one. He's not directing anymore. Well, in the original trilogy, he stepped back and it was too stressful in the first one. So he was like, nah, I'm not doing it. I'm just going to produce and kind of co-direct, But he had a lot of problems with the Directors Guild in America because they didn't allow for his kind of way that he wanted to kind of conduct his films, the way he was kind of the head honcho, and the way he even had the credits at the start of the film or no credits, with the text crawl, Like the Directors Guild weren't all for that. And so he got one of his previous mentors from uni, Irvin Kershner, who then went on to do RoboCop 2 as well. So he's done Empire Strikes Star Wars 2, technically, in RoboCop 2. He had also directed other films, but apparently he was chosen because he was so good with actors and getting out good character stuff. Which
is I guess if you talk about a flaw of George Lucas, is probably he's working with actors.
Or non-working with actors. Yeah, because he'd just be like, just do it faster or more intense.
Yeah.
Basically that's what we've heard. Is like he didn't really have much input into directing actors. He'd kind of just sit there, well, not just sit there, but he'd kind of just like to direct from a distance.
He's not really an actor's director.
No, he's meant to be kind of a nervous, kind of quiet guy.
Yeah.
He's always been the quiet guy, and fair enough. I mean, that we're all entitled to be who we are, and he found a way to overcome that by doing things his way, and look what he did. He made a massive franchise, if not the biggest, and did it his way, and paid a lot of costs along the way, but still did it. So, say what you want, but fuck, there's only one George Lucas. And
he created an empire.
He did. He became the Palpatine. So I thought that was interesting, because when I was growing up, I always thought George Lucas directed them all. Didn't even read the credits. Directed by Irvin Kershner.
That's the thing. It's the same with any sort of someone who's known as a director, maybe like a Tim Burton. He doesn't have to direct it, and people think he's directed it. Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yes, Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, I always thought Tim Burton did that.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, and that happens. James Cameron's produced a whole heap of new films, and everyone just assumes it's a James Cameron film, but it's definitely not.
Like the new Terminator, like his name is like all over that, and people are like, yeah, it's got heaps to do with it, but I doubt it did.
And that crashed, that flopped big time. That new one that's just come out. So, and everyone said, "Oh, see that flopped." So James Cameron is no more, but they don't realise that he
doesn't give a shit.
What did he do on it? Yeah, you can use my name. You can use my name.
Yeah, you can use his characters, but whatever, I don't care. They're dead anyway.
Yeah,
it's good for Arnie because it gives him some work. But, and Linda Hamilton. But
well, he needs some.
yeah, exactly. Getting back to it, the music as well. John Williams is back. Everyone's kind of back, I suppose, and John Williams has sort of stepped up a notch.
Yeah.
If there's anyone that's kind of the voice of Star Wars, or the person that gave it, its scope. Consistently through every single film, the one guy will probably be John Williams, because he's the one that came up with the themes, the way to kind of the alien world, the sound of it all, the music, the Imperial March, all this sort of stuff.
If there's a film that showcases the importance of audio in a film, this will be it.
Yeah, listen, Marvel.
It's got those. It's got every element that you need. You've got those large, vast sounds. The music is powerful and adds to the story, but it also has those recognisable tunes that last, which we don't see anymore.
Oh, I was going to hum it, but I can't really hum.
Well, what's the last film that had a recognisable tune?
Yeah.
Harry Potter? It's probably it.
And John Williams again. And you get guys like Hans Zimmer. Everyone says, no, he's not a good composer. And yeah, I guess not, but I still like his music. Sherlock Holmes. We've got Pirates of the Caribbean. We've got so many that he's done that I love. All the Chris Nolan films he's worked on. but they're not really hummable themes. I mean, Pirates of the Caribbean is a little bit and things like that, but ultimately, for those large themes and kind of signature songs for the film, like Harry Potter, you know, you can sort of hum it and sort of summarize it in one kind of tune. And same with Star Wars and Superman and so on and so on and so on. All John Williams, Indiana Jones.
And it's the kind of thing that embellishes nostalgia. The sound's probably the most powerful element to bring nostalgia upon someone, really. It's the sound. You've got the visuals and everything, and that's great. But when you've got those tunes, you've got that Harry Potter tune and that plays, or you've got a tune from Jurassic Park or anything like that, and you hear it, you're straight back there as a kid.
Oh, yeah. You're straight back there, and you just, you know, you don't really need anything else to kind of transport you back to that place. And I reckon it's such a terrible oversight of most big films these days. You know, they just, I don't know if they just don't care. I'm sure they're aware of it. You know, it's not like they're dumb.
Yeah.
It's just they don't care. They think that, oh, we'll just get so-and-so. He's done this and that and this and that. Whatever.
Quick cash grab.
Yeah, I just don't know what it is. There is still good composers out there, but for the large tentpole films, that's kind of what I'm saying.
And it's sad because it's almost at the stage where you could have grabbed any stock song off the internet and put it in, and it'll still feel the same because it doesn't have the signature sounds that some of these films did have, and some still do. Yeah. But a lot of the ones that, you know, that we see these days in the cinemas, unfortunately don't have that. They've just got score X here, insert score here.
It almost feels like they're temp tracks.
Yeah, that's it.
Like, I'm just trying to think like Mad Max, you know, we talked about recently. You got Junkie XL. They get a lot of these electronic composers in to do films these days as well. And they've even pulled in Alan Silvestri to do the Avengers and, you know, the theme for that, you know, which is sort of memorable, but majority of all these big films is forgettable.
Yeah, that's right.
The films are as well. Let's face
Stranger
it.
Things has a really cool soundtrack.
If it wasn't for that starting theme song, I don't think I would have pushed through as fast and hard as I did. Because I was like, I can't wait. Every time that song kicked back in again, I'm like, okay, I'm with it.
That's it.
I'm back there again. I'm with it. I'm with it. You know, give me more. Give me more. And, you know, I'd sort of suffer through the low points in that show, which is it's not a bad show at all. But, you know, if I was on my own and I'm watching it on my own, I'd probably go, I could leave that for a few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, there were things that it almost felt like they forgot it all about the second season. Yeah. Especially with that. The thing with the cop is that he sort of had a nice character growth in the first season. In the first few seasons. Yeah, yeah. And then it almost like he forgot all about them.
He was totally different, wasn't he? He was just like all angry.
Yeah, and he's and then he couldn't talk to people even though he had a wonderful conversation in the second season.
It was almost like, I don't know if you saw the new Hellboy, but those two roles were very similar. He's like grumpy and smoking ciggies, and I just felt like he was exactly almost the same character. And I'm like, I'm thinking, what's going on there? That's a bit coincidental, you know? And I don't know if he just did that, came in and said, you know, this is how I'm playing it this season, or, you know, or how it just worked out that way. And then, you know what I mean? And then they're like, oh, he'd be a good Hellboy.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. Anyway, off track.
Anyway, let's get back on to our subject matter.
Yes. So John Williams, good. Music's great. You know, I think the music is what really brings this movie up to 11.
The next thing to touch on is probably the casting.
Casting as well, because you've got all the returning actors back. And, you know, there's still, like, there's all the big names are kind of out. You know, I mean, we've got Alec Guinness returning, but he's only in ghost form. Yep. Tarkin's gone. He's dead, you know, so no Peter Cushing. And other big name actors, not really. Yeah. Apart from Billy D. Williams, who plays Lando Calrissian, who comes in, you know, later on in the film. But we've got Frank Oz coming in. Yeah,
which I love seeing films that have unknowns, because I don't see them as their actor. I can take them in for a character as they are. Yeah. And it's always great to see unknowns, and unfortunately we all have to have the big actors in all these films, and it works for a lot of people. But give me a new actor who I don't know who they are, so I believe they're that character.
Yeah, I agree. And there's only like one recognizable face that I can think of at the top of my head, which would be, one of the Imperial guys that's in the four-legged walkers. I think they're called AT-ATs, AT-ATs. And he's from Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
So, like, it's like, apart from that, there's nothing that I can think of at the top of my head. But yeah, so we're on the snow planet, and that battle is going on. The walkers.
Epic, powerful,
and different.
Yeah.
We'd never seen a battle in the snow like that before. I know I had never seen anything like that, and to be honest, nothing since.
Yeah.
There's been nothing, even in the more recent Star Wars film that came out, The Last Jedi, that tried to replicate that in their film, just pales in comparison. And it's like, this is not a snow planet, it's a salt planet. Yeah. It's like, fuck off, whatever, you ain't got shit on Empire. And this is the film that everyone refers to as like the quintessential sequel, apart from Aliens and T2. This is kind of the granddaddy of number twos, because this is the film that really set the standard and turned something that was on the cusp of being cheesy to something that could be taken more seriously, And yeah, so we're, the stakes are getting high because we got Luke, Vader's coming, he's searching for him, he's coming into the rebel base. They've invaded it, the rebels are on the back foot, they're running away. They leave the planet, the Millennium Falcon darts off, the rebels dart off, and then Vader's left there, and the, hopeless stormtroopers are, still can't shoot anyone.
Yeah.
They still haven't learned or trained enough,
Dipshit, buddy.
Yeah, the worst army ever.
We've got all the technology in the world, but we've got the dumbest people. So
why didn't they just stick to having robots like they did in the episode 1? If you look at it that way, and then they enlist all these dumbass fucking stormtroopers, or whatever. It's funny. It's funny. I love that. But so Luke goes off to be trained as a Jedi. So this is it. He's embraced it, and he's going off to Dagobah to find. Obi-Wan's instructed him, you must go to Dagobah and find Yoda. Yeah. Because he will turn you into a Jedi Master, or a Jedi Knight. Sorry, not a Jedi Master. So he goes to Dagobah. And this is a great set piece. If not one of the best set pieces in any of the Star Wars films. It's a swamp planet. And you got the little puppet, the green puppet Yoda, voiced by Frank Oz, and puppeteered by, Jim Henson crew or whatnot, And it's just, that set, you got live snakes, you got disgusting water that's been sitting there, because you watch the documentary, that set had been sitting there for months, and the water got stagnant and it got swampy. Yeah. They had actual animals in there, so shit was getting, swampy for real. And Mark Hamill was all there by himself, acting to himself to a fucking puppet. Yeah. There's nothing else. And the director, Irvin Kershner, is like pushing him. They're working together and collaborating, and really get a wonderful performance there from Mark Hamill, off Frank Oz, and them two nail it. It's laughable at in ways, but at the same time it's so cool and so serious in other ways, where you can watch it and really get into it, or you can whatever.
And it's great to see that at this stage you can really start to see different worlds. And they've been imagined different and creative worlds.
The identity,
and they've all got their own. Yeah. They've all got their own signatures.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is great.
In the first one, we basically only had a desert planet. Yeah. And it was like that was it. Yeah. And now this film, we've already been to a snow planet, and now we're on a swamp planet. And it's like, this is sick. This is crazy. And then you got the Falcon going through asteroid field. And it's just hectic. This asteroid field is done so well by the Industrial Light Magic, the way they just the improvement on the space battles in general was just amazing.
And I would have loved to be a fly on the wall when that was happening, when they were creating, because this was all new. This is all what is the next challenge we can do, which is amazing to see. They had such rudimentary experience, and then they were able just to throw shit on the wall and see what's
what's working.
And it'll be nice to see a little bit more of that. We've still got some people that are trying to innovate, like in New Zealand and with weather and stuff like that. They're still trying to push the boundaries.
And on the new Blade Runner, they did that, and And when they sort of mix it with computer graphics these days, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
But you can always tell when there's something real there. Like, I remember watching Blade Runner and I'm like, it just seems too good to be just CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm in the cinema and I see it twice at the cinema and I'm thinking,
yeah,
how could this be CGI? Is that CGI? No, it can't be. If it is, it's fucking good.
With a lot of it, they went back to the basics and models, and it was great. Models is the way to do it.
Yeah, and just come over the top of CGI if you have to.
And you look at the difference between Lord of the Rings to The Hobbit. The Hobbit was all CG. Lord of the Rings was all pretty much models.
And Hobbit's already dated worse than Lord of the Rings,
yeah.
For my money.
I know, you're right.
Even Gollum, like, he's heaps better in the new ones, but just the way it's incorporated in Lord of the Rings, I think, is better. Yeah. Just because the way they kind of shoehorn, into Hobbit, it just doesn't quite work. But anyway, back to Empire.
Yeah.
So we've had the big battle, and all that, and they're on the run, and Luke's getting trained on the Swamp Planet. And Yoda sort of spills the beans on there being another. If Luke dies, it doesn't matter because there's another. Almost like there's another chosen one.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, who could that be? You got a sister. Leia is your sister. And, he kisses Leia in this one.
Yeah.
He already has kissed her at the start of the film. But he doesn't find out it's his sister actually until Return of the Jedi, but he's told there is another. Yeah. So, retrofit. Bit of incest going on, bit of Game of Thrones action happening,
Yeah.
But that shit used to happen. So it's in a galaxy, far away, in a long time ago.
Yeah.
So okay. But so Luke is getting trained, and he's like, I've got to go help my friends, because basically this film was just like one big chase, and that was something that was kind of lobbied at. Oh well. This is what people gave shit to Last Jedi, was one big chase scene. A lot of people give shit to the new Mad Max, that it's just one big chase scene.
Yeah.
Star Wars Empire Strikes Back is basically one big chase scene from the start to end. Empire's just on the heels of the Rebels through the whole film, and that's basically it. Midpoint through the film, Luke sets off to go rescue his friends. You get a lot of tragedy in this one because you got Han Solo, or the Harrison Ford character, getting put in carbonate. So you don't know, he's frozen in that carbonate stuff. So you don't know if he's going to return. You think this is the end for that character. You don't know, So I thought that was a bold move of them on their behalf, because his contract was up too, and he wasn't going to go on and do it anymore. So he was like, I want to be out. Kill me off, George. I don't want to be in this shit no more. I want to do something else. Mm-hmm. This is what I know. And so he didn't sign a contract to do Return of the Jedi at this point. Right. So he was out.
Yeah.
So, and good old George was like, no, I'm going to make sure you come back. He's like, you're too good of a character in his head, I think. And he's just like, we'll end up persuading him, but let's just, we won't kill him off. We'll just freeze him, And it kind of works in the theme of the film, because we've been to an ice planet, he's been frozen in carbonate. There's a lot of this kind of, I don't know, it just feels like it fits quite nicely. And it's very wet film because you've been to a swamp planet as well. So it's kind of got this kind of depressing tone to it because it's cold and it's nasty and moody. Yeah, it's all working very nicely. And this is where you can kind of see elements of a film where it's all kind of just bouncing off each other and it's working beautifully, every step of the way. And this is the introduction to also bounty hunters into the Star Wars universe, like Boba Fett and the other bounty hunters that are there on the ship, which is like Bosk and IG-88 and all these other characters that got fleshed out in comics and books. And they're all very cool characters, and this kind of paved the way for so many comics and books. That fandom just sort of went crazy after this film because it made people hungry to want more and to get more, So yeah, they were making characters left, right, and center, and they all seem to work very nicely. And yeah, they get back to chasing down the Millennium Falcon, and that ends up in Cloud City, Bespin, the Cloud City. So the third destination, it's not a planet, but it's in the clouds. It's something new we've never seen before. It's a palace or refinery, factory in the clouds.
Creative.
Very cool. Very cool. you never really see this kind of stuff in other films, especially at that point.
Yeah, yep.
And still today, I still struggle to see stuff that's as inventive or creative and bold.
Yeah.
And you've got some pretty cool stuff happening there as well. You got the introduction to Lando character, who's another Swami, pretty much another Han Solo sort of character, and they're both, on the fringes of society sort of guys, and they'll kind of, do what they got to do kind of guys. They're in the grey area.
Yeah.
And he was originally, Billy D. Williams originally auditioned for the Han Solo role in the first film. So they ended up bringing him sort of back for this role in this film as a means to take over, because Harrison Ford was kind of out at this point. So they're like, okay, we need someone to fill in his shoes. Mm-hmm. It's going to be Lando, and he's a black guy as well. You know? So it's kind of the first kind of African American black guy in this universe. There's not enough of them in this universe, if you ask me. It's predominantly white people. In the whole film. And all the films. And that is one thing I have to lobby at the franchise, is something that they've kind of tried to fix in the more recent stuff, which they've done a pretty good job at. But it always feels like they're kind of secondary characters, never at the forefront. Yep. And anyway, just my little thing on it. It's in a different universe. Why does it always have to be white guys as the main dudes?
I mean, that's a thing, unfortunately, with the whole industry.
Yeah. It's just reflection of the industry. It's not Star Wars itself. No, it's just the way it is.
Yeah, typical white. Pretty much any film is like that. Yeah. And you've got your typical white films and your typical black films, and it'll be nice just to have a mix and not have to say, oh, this person's a black person, this is a white person.
It's not like, oh, that's special because he's this,
And this is an Asian film or whatever it might be.
It's got to be one flavour or the other.
Yeah.
Can't cross those flavours. Can't cross those streams.
Yeah. We're getting there.
Because Rogue One and the new Star Wars show that's coming out, the main guy is, I think he's South American. Yeah. And Rogue One's got a very eclectic cast, a very good cast, actually. It's one of my favourite casts of big films in recent years, to be honest, because it's so varying. Anyway, we'll get to that when we get to it. But anyway, back to Empire. So Vader's like on this, mission. He's on a mission to find Luke. And he ends up catching up with him on Cloud City and confronts Luke. Chops off his hand. Yeah. And sort of Luke's got nowhere to go. He's on the edge of the platform. He's either forced to his death or he submits to Darth Vader. And then Darth Vader reveals to him that he's his father. I am your father, and he's like, no.
That was great.
That was a great impression.
Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly like Mark Hamill. And he's like, and then he jumps off and he's like, oh, all the way down. Yeah. And he survives, whoop-de-doo.
Champion.
Yeah, champion.
He's a legend. He's our hero.
He's a hero. And he's hanging off of that little antenna at the bottom of Cloud City. Gets picked up by the Millennium Falcon because Leia feels him with the Force. Luke gets picked up by the Millennium Falcon. Yeah. We've got Lando, and wind it back a second because this is pretty much at the end of the film. So we'll just wind back 20 minutes, and Lando betrays them. He sort of turns them into Vader because they got there first. So that's pretty cool that you get this kind of betrayal, and then he ends up back with them again, but he's just kind of trying to do what he has to do to survive, basically. And he even says, look, they got here before you did, I had to do what I had to do. It's pretty cool because it's grey areas, and I love I love characters that are grey, that aren't good or bad, they're just kind of in the middle, they just do what they do. And you got Boba Fett, he plays a big role in this. He takes Han Solo onto his ship, and he's taken him to Jabba the Hutt. Yeah, has a big bounty because he's owed money to Jabba the Hutt, which was mentioned in the first film. So that's a little link back to that one, and it carries forth into the next film. And then we've got R2D2 and C3PO, which I haven't really spoken about in this one, but they're just there along for the ride. Throwing in some comedy value here and there. C3PO gets shot to shit on Cloud City, and he gets blown up basically into pieces. and then he's kind of in Chewbacca's backpack for the remainder of the film, and that's pretty cool. You know, I like that.
Yep.
And you got R2-D2, who really doesn't do a hell of a lot in this film, but he's with Luke for the majority of it. On Dagobah with Yoda, he kind of does a bit there, but for the rest of the film, he's just kind of whatever.
The first one was his film.
Yeah, exactly. He's already had his film.
Yeah.
He's beat booping away. And
Yeah.
and we're kind of wrapping up here. So we're not going into too much detail, but we're just kind of
and reflecting on it. What are your thoughts?
like I said, this was not the one I would go to when I was a kid. When I started becoming like 13, 14, maybe 15.
Yeah.
I started going, hey, this one's actually the best.
Yeah.
I started going, shit, this one's actually really interesting, and it's got some really good stuff in it, and makes me feel weird in some places. Like I was just like, it's a strange film.
Yeah.
And it leaves you on that cliffhanger, a dark cliffhanger, which is like, what's going to happen? I don't know, because we're in the middle of this like 3-act structure of a trilogy now, and it's like, what the fuck? If they did that today, which they kind of tried to do with Last Jedi, people are just like so fucking annoyed and so angry and like, this is not what I imagined the films would be like, and oh my god, it's just shit, and this is not what I want in a Star Wars film.
That's the thing, everyone has to have their say. And there's something they've sat with their whole life, and they've thought about it and imagined, and that's
I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I'm one of them because like I said, this was my jam, and I was like, fuck, like I watch these new films, and look, I came out the cinema on every time like, it was all right. I'm optimistic. Even in the prequel trilogy, I did the same thing. I was like, they're all right. It's Star Wars. I was just happy to see fucking Star Wars on this big screen. I didn't care, really. I didn't overthink it.
Yeah.
I was just watching it, like I used to, and I just take it all in. And then the more times I watch it, I go, actually, the first 3 were pretty fucking solid. It's made me appreciate those even more.
Yeah.
Just for what they are, warts and all. They're just they're cool.
Unfortunately, with any franchise that has been around as long as that has, there's always going to be people that have their own views on their own takeaways in their own ways that they want to see it. And unfortunately, someone has to take the torch and run with it. Backlash with the 3 that came out, and now there's all the new recent ones.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some of the new recent ones, they haven't had that same sort of vision.
They've kind of almost receded.
Yeah.
Like the vision has kind of gone, we need to kind of play this safe.
We have to play the Disney card on this one.
Yeah, and like even with Force Awakens, like that, I should probably save all this for when we talk about these films, but it just feels like they're hiding behind something. They're like, we're too afraid to break the mold. We're too afraid to try something new.
Yeah.
A new set of characters, like with it, let's get away from all the stuff we know.
Yeah.
I mean, how big is space? How big is the universe? How big is this universe? Yeah. Why do we have to jump in at this point in time? Why do we... Okay, you want to bring back Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and Mark Hamill, but why the fuck would you bring them back and not put them in the same scene together, except for a handful of scenes which are fucking shit?
Yeah.
And then not only are they shit, but you don't even have all 3 together. You don't have Chewie, Han, Leia, and Luke, C-3PO, and R2 all in the same room at one time. Why the fuck not? Like, if you're going to go through all this effort after all this time, this is what the fans wanted. No, they kill off Han or Harrison in the first one. They fuck over Mark Hamill in the first one, and then in the second one. It's just like, they've just, they're fucked up. But like, the original, this Empire Strikes Back is definitely the cream of the crop for me. Yeah, it's the one that's kind of lasted. It's the most kind of like Macbethy, Shakespearean,
fairy tale,
dramalicious, And I mean, it ends on that note. Like, what's going to happen? Luke's lost a hand. Han's kind of dead.
Yeah.
C-3PO's in pieces.
Yeah.
Vader's still out there.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened to him.
And this will take us to the next podcast.
Yes, and the next one is Revenge of the Jedi. It's Return of the Jedi.
Take two.
Yeah, because they initially called it Revenge of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And they're like, and then apparently, this is the story goes that they were like, Jedis don't really take revenge because they're kind of peaceful people.
Yeah, right.
And they're like, oh, okay, well, yeah, Return of the Jedi it is then, I suppose.
Yeah. Anyway, until next time.
Adios.